Today we're continuing both with our console application series, and we're looking at C# structs. And the nature of C# structs is it's information that's naturally associated with each other. It's the same concept as a database record or row. So you could have, for instance, name, age, employee ID, and so on. So one aggregate of information describes one person, say, that works for a company. Like classes that contain both data and methods, they can also contain indexers and properties, but that's sort of beyond this tutorial. You might look at relevant tutorials I've done on those. In order to declare a struct, you say struct, the keyword struct, and then the name of the struct, and then a curly brace in the body of the struct and an end curly brace. And this will become more clear when we start looking at an actual struct. We're in our DOS box, and if I do a directory of all CS files, you see we have a CS file called struct01.cs. I can highlight that. Remember to get to CS this time. And if I press enter, it'll copy it to the clipboard. And now I can say CSC, which is a C# compiler, and do a right click, and it'll compile our program. And if we want to look at the program, we can say npp, which is the alias we created previously for Notebook++, and then once again do a right click, and that'll put the name of the program from the clipboard onto the command line, and then press enter. And here we see the struct definition I was talking about. Basically, you have a public asset specifier, the keyword struct, and then the name of the struct, which is trans. And then we have two pieces of data that are associated with each other. They're both public access, and the first one's a char that is named untrans, and the second one's a string which is named late. And if you notice how we create or instantiate an object based on this, we specify the struct name, and then the name of the object we want to create, and then equals new keyword, and then the struct name. And in this case, I'm passing the data directly to a constructor, which I've defined up here. You can define both methods and data within a struct. In order to reference a struct, once you've created an object on it, you specify the object name, a dot operator, and the data member or method you want to reference. Remember, you're always calling constructor whenever you instantiate an object. That's why there's always parentheses after the new, in the case up here. And the default constructor just sets all the data members to 0. But as you saw in our example, what we want to do is pass data to the constructor and initialize all the data, so that when we say the new, we've created a record that has valid data in it. If you don't create a constructor, as we did, you get the default constructor, which I said just initializes everything to 0 values. And if you do create your own constructor, you have to initialize all data. You don't have to pass it to through parameters. You could just set it to default values in the body. But I think the best way to do it is to pass it through parameters. So in creating the struct, you also create an initialized record with valid values in it. and you must have at least one parameter to distinguish it from the default constructor, which has no parameters. Structs can inherit from other structs or from classes, and structs can inherit from interfaces. So you might check out the interface tutorial if you want to learn more about that. If you check out the actual program that I wrote within the public static void main, which is the hook that initially starts execution of the program, I have the instantiation of the object on the translate struct, and I pass it two pieces of valid data so that the record is fully populated right at creation time. And then I do a console write line, which has a format string that references two data items. And the way you substitute data items into the format string is you have curly brace 0 curly brace, which refers to the first data item after the string, separated by a comma. And then I say curly brace 0 translates into, and I say curly brace 1 curly brace, which references the second data item after the format string. And these data items are the object name, the dot operator, and then the field name within the struct. So I have firstGuy.untrans and firstGuy.late. So if we run this guy from the command prompt, if I right click again and then I backspace 3 times in order to get rid of the .cs in order to run it, I press enter, and you can see it says left angle bracket translates into ampersand LT semicolon. So this is the first field and the second field. This actually will become much more relevant in the next program. You'll start to understand that I'm actually creating a practical program to solve a practical problem I have with building my website for these tutorials. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned a lot, and make sure you subscribe.